Reg, how was the offseason?
Oh, Theodore, it's good to be back in the house. It's good to be back in the house, Theodore, and my Danettes. It's basketball season about to begin. The World Series starting tonight as well. This is the best time of the year with hockey and football. Yes. Yeah. Hello?
Hey, Reg.
Are we on?
Yeah, we're on.
Oh, my goodness. I'm so embarrassed.
I'm
right
sure
now.
you are. I'm sure you are.
Theodore, how are you, my friend?
Doing great. Did you go anywhere? Vacation? Do anything interesting?
I did not do anything interesting. Went to Hawaii for a couple of weeks to get away with the family, but that was it.
Nice. And you're ready for basketball.
I mean, all of us could not, go to Brazil and, hang out on Copacabana Beach or, chill out with all the Olympic heroes. And weren't you hanging out with Billy Bush and all? Oh, sorry.
No, I was not.
Too soon.
Yeah,
Too soon.
I was not hanging out with him or Ryan Lochte either. And it's too soon for that, Reg.
Okay, too soon. Too soon. Don't you love this time of year? There's two favorite sports times of the year because you have hockey and basketball starting, World Series, and football's 7-8 weeks in. This is the best time of the year, only rivaled with March when you have baseball beginning, playoffs, March Madness. This is the best.
Have you been to a World Series before?
I never have been to a World Series game. I want to. When did my Angels win it? Was that 05 or 04? Because I can't remember if I was in Indiana watching the World Series or was I in Malibu watching it. I want to say I was in Malibu, but I just didn't go to the games because usually our seasons. I'm in training camp when World Series is beginning.
But you
so
grew
that's
up.
Why you could never go.
Your brother played baseball in the major leagues. Were you a baseball family? I know, Cheryl obviously was a great, basketball player, and so were you. But were you a baseball family?
Oh my God, baseball was my number one sport growing up until I entered high school. So I always wanted to be the next Rod Carew. So we are a huge baseball family. If you're breaking it down, it would probably go basketball because that pays the bills, but baseball is like knocking on the door in our family.
We were talking about that. I don't know if the Warriors, they're labeled villains, but can you really dislike the villains? And if people do, why do you think people dislike the Warriors or don't want them to win this year?
I have no idea because where did it all turn overnight? Because of the Kevin Durant signing, this is the most entertaining team in our league. They shoot and make threes. They're fun to watch. They're all great in front of a camera. They all sit down and talk to you. So because of the Durant signing, I think everyone has flipped a script on them and don't want them to win. I love everything that Steve Kerr, Bob Myers, Joe Lacob, the owner, everything that they've done. Am I disappointed that a superstar is leaving a small market? That was my only biggest criticism because I'm looking at it from a fan perspective because I know how much those small market fans really live and die with their sports teams and their superstars. So for Kevin Durant to leave OKC, that was my only problem with it. From a business standpoint, it's fabulous. That's all people are talking about is, are we going to see the trilogy? Obviously, there's a lot of games left to be played, 7-8 months before Cleveland and Golden State can get it on again, but I think it's great for the league.
How does this not work out, though, starting with Golden State? How do they not win the West?
Well, number one, injuries. As I said, it's a long season, and even though you have, 4 All-Stars, 2 MVPs on the same team, we saw last year when Steph wasn't 100%, and I know LeBron can say, well, look, 2 years ago I didn't have 2 of my dogs with me, and we got to the finals. So injuries, number one. And everyone's talking about the chemistry. I don't think that'll be that big of an issue. I think as the course of the season moves on, they'll figure out a way with moving the basketball. I'm not worried about the offensive end. I'm more worried about the defensive end with Golden State because people need to understand how much Andrew Bogut and Festus Ezeli meant as a rim protector for this Golden State team. Steph led the league in steals last year with just over 2 a game. Well, that allowed him to gamble a lot because when he got beat, the guy that was blocking shots and manning the lane was Andrew Bogut and Ezeli coming off the bench. They are a much smaller team now, so it's going to be a group effort. To me, individual defense is going to be huge, something to watch over the course of the year. Clay and Draymond are fantastic defensive players. Steph is good, but he gambles a lot. And even though KD is 6'11", 7 feet, and long arms and can block shots, he's not a great defender because he gets overshadowed with his offense. So if they become individual great defenders, then I'll be okay. This is a much smaller Golden State team.
Reg will be calling Spurs Warriors tonight, tipping off at 10:30 Eastern on TNT. Handicap the rest of the West. The Clippers, obviously the Spurs. Is there a close second at all in the West?
Well, look, I'm never going to count on a team that won 67 games a year ago, and Greg Popovich and the Spurs. And obviously, you're losing, a generational type player in Tim Duncan. But they picked up a pretty good guy and a surefire Hall of Famer in Pau Gasol to kind of fill the middle and play that center spot alongside LaMarcus Aldridge. Look, the reins have been tossed to Kawhi Leonard. It's his time. And, again, you've got one of the best coaches of all time in Greg Popovich. And I think this may be the last go-round and maybe the best go-round for the Clippers. It was somewhat of an embarrassment how it ended last year with the injuries and the whole Blake Griffin, punching the equipment manager. And I think they understand that, between Blake and Chris Paul, they both can opt out this summer. DeAndre playing for the Olympic team, which I think was a big boost for his ego and for his game. And Doc Rivers, another great coach. So I think this may be the last run. Those two teams certainly can challenge Golden State. But to me, it's Golden State's to lose out west.
Cavaliers don't make the finals if
LeBron gets hurt. That's the only reason I see the Cavs not making the NBA finals. Because we already saw 2 years ago him take a team to the finals really with spotty play by Kyrie and Kevin Love, both being out with injuries and playing here or there. And LeBron still got to the finals and through the East. The only way they don't get there is if LeBron misses extended periods of time or he's not 100%.
I think we've talked about this before. Everybody's got their list, their top 5, and, it changes in whatever order, starting with Jordan. But why is it LeBron is not in people's top 5 and sometimes begrudgingly in their top 10? What is it about him in this career that we're still waiting for him to do where he's anointed as one of the 10 or 5 greatest players of all time?
Well, number one, people are crazy if he's not in the top 10. The question will be top 5. And you and I have had this conversation, and I came on this show and said, as much as I hate to do it, when I had to take Larry Joe Bird, off my top 5 and put LeBron in there, I think what he did for the city of Cleveland, being down 3-1, and finding a way and willing a way for them to win a championship, that's why he moves into my top 5. People like to hold on to ghosts. And I've been one of those guys. I love Michael Jordan, Magic Johnson, Larry Bird. I grew up in that era. It's hard to let go, but people need to sit back and look at the numbers, look at the play. 6 straight, now he didn't win them all, 6 straight NBA finals. That is so hard to do. And in this day of age, now you've got a super team out west here with Golden State, and now the expectations are going to be on them. Because to me, it's championship or bust for the Warriors. Mm-hmm. So for LeBron not to be in most people's top 5, it's a little head-scratching because you've got to sit back and appreciate the numbers.
Well, I know that we put Oscar Robertson in there, and I had a chance to see him play, but he won 1 title. And if we're going to hold people accountable for how many titles they have, and granted, he was playing for Cincinnati, got the title when he played with Kareem Abdul-Jabbar in Milwaukee, To me, LeBron James has moved past Oscar Robertson on the all-time list, and that may be blasphemous and coming from a guy who grew up in Cincinnati, but I think we're holding on to the Oscar ghost because he averaged a triple-double. If he doesn't average a triple-double for a season, then we're not talking about this.
Well, again, we like to hold on to our sports heroes, and there's a lot of Oscar Robertson fans out there, me being one of them, but it's time for us to move on and look at LeBron James as one of the greatest players our game has ever seen. People like to hold on because, he had to go to Miami to learn how to win.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, but he came back and won one for Cleveland, down 3-1 to a team that had won 73 games. That's got to mean something for people out there. So for people that he's not in the top 10, that's crazy. Top 5, that's, it's arguable, but he's in my top 5 now.
Laker fan.
As hard as it is to take Larry Joe off, it hurts me to do that because that's the guy I patterned my game after.
Yeah, I don't have any problem taking Larry Joe out of the top 5, and I loved his game, but I think LeBron's had a bigger impact. Laker fans should expect what this year?
2 or more wins than they had a year ago.
Wow.
They're young. They're young, new coach. I like Luke Walton. I like the hire, but they're young.
Will they have the same style as Golden State, even though they don't have the same talent, but is Luke going to have that same kind of style as Golden State?
I think they're going to try and run more, and they'll have a little bit of that flex offense and that flow offense, but you've got to have the personnel if you want to play like Golden State, and they don't have a great three-point shooting like Clay or Steph, and the playmakers of a Kevin Durant and an all-around tool player like Draymond Green. But they've got young talent, so it'll be interesting to see if Randall and Russell and Ingram, those 3 young guys, can mature and grow up and find a way to play together. Again, I love the hire of Luke Walton, but they're young. And out west, where there's good young teams like Utah and Minnesota that are starting to find their way. Those 2 teams are going to be battling for the 7th and 8th spots, in my opinion, out west. So they're nowhere near them. So they got a long ways to go.
And you would still be the best three-point shooter on the Lakers if you were on the roster.
Right now I would. Right now I would. Luke, the way they're throwing around money, today just have me camp out. That short 3, let's do it.
What if they gave you a really nice contract for 1 year?
David Levy, can I take a sabbatical for 1 year and go play for the Lakers?
What would TNT think if you just said, you know what, starting next season, and you would be, 52 at the time?
2, yes.
And
they would probably say, don't let the door hit you too hard as you're walking out.
Well,
did it hurt? Is your back hurting with the door hitting you? They could care less.
Certain things that never leave you, and you showed that when we were down at the Final Four in Houston, and you started shooting threes, and I went, oh, my God. You know what?
I'll be able to shoot till I'm 65. That's easy. That's a given. Now, if you're asking me to move my feet side to side and try to keep Steph or Kawhi Leonard or any of these guys in front of me, no chance. No chance.
All right, well, have fun tonight. Spurs at the Warriors, tipping off at 10:30 Eastern on TNT. Reggie Aloysius Miller III in his first of many weekly appearances here. Thank you, Reg. We'll talk next week.
Thank you, Theodore. So glad to be back. Danettes, I love you. Thank y'all.
That's Reg Miller. Good to have Reg back.
The Dan Patrick Show, weekday mornings on Audience.